All right, let's get into this. I have been waiting for this book to come out, and it is a book by Legrand. The title is Some Kind of Happiness. I bought it yesterday, and I spent all of today reading it. It is about 10:15 in the evening, and this book I can 100% relate to, and the age is pretty much dead on if I'm going to relate to it. So let's go ahead and delve into it. The book starts off with a little girl. She's very educated, especially when it comes to literature and using big words for her age. Her name is Finley. She's 11, and she is an only child. Her father is like a professor, an English professor, and her mother is an interior designer. And the mother is like really busy. She's always kind of like anal retentive when it comes to certain things. She wants it perfectly this way because she, does interior designs. And the father, he's just kind of laid back, listens to, classical music and educates his daughter. And she's this, she's still a child, but, in ways she's like a little grown up where she needs to be. And her parents are having like marital issues, so they, the school year ends, and during the summer, at the beginning of the summer, pretty much Finley's parents are like, we want to introduce you to your grandparents on the father's side, and she's never really met them before. Well, she's never met them before, and it's like this big family secret, right? And that's like literally the whole book. There is like this secret that's just like jaw-dropping, right? So, but you find out later. Now, the whole point is this little girl, because she kind of sees her parents, she sees her parents struggling in their marriage. They act as if nothing is happening, and even though she's like, like a little adult, she knows there's something wrong. So she ends up going to her grandparents' house for the summer. Now, her dad has 3 sisters, so those are Finley's aunts, and each of those aunts have children, so she has cousins. The oldest is 17, so she's kind of like, there's an age gap because she's 17 and the rest of her cousins are like 12, 13, and then 8 years old. And none of them have ever met Finley. So they're all kind of like in this little group. They all visit their grandparents. Their last name is Hart. So they visit their grandparents and their cousins and her aunts. And they visit the grandparents' house like every weekend, every day. They have dinner and blah, blah, blah. So now it is completely like different for Finley, because when she is at her house, she eats and watches her TV show while her dad, grades exams, and then the mom is on the computer doing her, her stuff with interior design on the computer and blah, 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 right? So she's kind of used to her own little world. And growing up, that was like me, but we'll get into that, later, about how my life and that kind of coincides, I guess you can say. So then she ends up going to her grandparents. She finds out that everything's really different, like very strict, very organized, and everything is kind of scheduled. Dinner is at a certain time, and everyone needs to be at the dinner table, and everyone shares their story. No one else can talk and interrupt while that person is sharing their story. And it's the good thing is that it sets a good example on being, family. So there's a lot of things that you don't do, and you have to, put on this smile. And Finley as she starts living there, she is definitely the black sheep. Her and her father are the black sheep, and she starts to find out she has a lot of questions. She wants to find out why the family, they don't talk to her dad anymore, because the three girls are all like, very family oriented. They always visit their grandparents, but here's the dad that never visits, and they never had the child, Finley, go and visit. So she has a lot of questions. And growing up, Finley, much like myself, I used to, grow up with like a lot of, have you ever like woken up and like had this empty feeling, and you're just sad and kind of depressed and you don't know how to deal with it? So she has that, and she keeps everything written in a notebook. And she's really good with words, because her father is, her father teaches her all these big, words. And in her struggles to try to find out, why she feels a certain way, or, to try to get her out of her depression and out of her, out of her problems, she starts writing a story, and, like a child does. But to her, it's real, because those are her real feelings. So in a good way for her to kind of express her feelings, she writes about this place called Everwood. And Everwood is kind of like, in representation, the inside of her body. It's, there's a lot of trees, so there's a lot of problems. And then there's this, inside Everwood is this this house, this abandoned house. It's kind of like her soul. She finds out who she is by passing this bridge. The bridge happens to be part of something in her life, and she has to pass it, and blah, 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 right? So it's a really good story for kids that are like, or young adults that have problems with expressing their emotions. So I find this book, I forgot to show you the cover of it, but here's the book. Some Kind of Happiness. There's the house, and it is by Claire Legrand. And a quick shout out to my twin sister. Let's see if you can see that. It's a bookmarker. You can go and get it. I'll put the description in the, I'll put her website in the description, in the link below. But anyways, so this, she ends up going and creating this Everwood story, right? So when she's at her grandparents' house, she meets all of her younger cousins, and she, like I said, she's the black sheep of the family. All the cousins hate going to the grandparents' house, because the grandparents make them, the good things in life, like you got to clean to appreciate things, and you got to learn to not talk while someone's listening. So there's good morals and values in there. But Finley starts to realize that there's a lot of like fakeness, like when her grandma smiles, it's just for show. And they're very rich. I mean, very rich. That family is just super rich. It's like they live in a mansion, and they have a bunch of land. So as she's staying in this grandparents' house, she ends up going into the forest by herself. So she wanders off in there, and in her mind, she closes her eyes, and she hears the trees talking, and it's the Everwood that she has written in her book. So it's kind of like there's a secret inside this real forest that's behind her parents' house, and it's also hidden. It's also talking about who she is, inside. So she ends up going into this forest. She meets these kids, and the grandparents right away, forbid her to go into the forest and talk to the neighbors. These kids, they're called the Bailey brothers, and there's this really deep secret behind the Bailey family and the Everwood forest, and a big, huge secret with the Hart family. So without getting too much into it, that's pretty much the book review, and it's really good. I mean, it's really good when you start to find out the secrets that the Hart family is hiding, and about the Bailey brothers, and the big huge secret that's in the forest ends up helping Finley pretty much expose everything that was a secret for so many years, and in doing so she finds out who she is, you know, why she's the black sheep of the family. But in the same sense, when she exposes all of these secrets, she ends up being the hero of her Everwood, bringing the Bailey family into existence, bringing a huge secret into existence, and pretty much patching up this huge secret hole in this Hart family, this perfect, you know, perfect picture family, and she just ends up just tearing right into them and exposing a big secret. So this book is really amazing. Like, I really, really think that kids who are dealing with just depression and how to overcome certain things in the right way, not just in the wrong way. I really think that this book, man, this book really touched me. So I'm glad I went out and bought it, and I could relate to this in so many ways, so many ways. But I think this is a great read for anyone who's battling depression. So once again, go out, get this book. It's called Some Kind of Happiness by Claire Legrand. And another shout out to my sister who does wonderful jewelry and bookmarkers. So that's pretty much the book. Thank you for watching.